Welcome to Best Friends by Design, where we delve into the interior design industry. And today we are going to discuss the power of branding, personal branding in your business.
We will explore how personal branding in our industry can drive authenticity, trust, and success of your business.
So we've put together a few bullet points for points that we want to discuss. So we want to discuss defining what personal branding really is, authenticity and trust, building a connection, overcoming challenges, and leveraging social media and networking for your branding. So, what do you think, Giselle? The power of being the face behind your brand.
I think it's everything. It's everything that we stand for as business owners. So this is an opportunity when we get into that uncomfortable part of putting ourselves out there where it really flourishes, and we're going to cover all that. We're going to break it down, make it super simple.
Absolutely.
And share our stories and
Sure.
and what we had to do to kind of overcome that, and we're still overcoming it.
Yeah, definitely. But it starts with like defining what personal branding really is. So especially when it comes to your business, it's not just picking out designing your logo and your brand colors and even your signature style. It's really, we're in the industry where our clients, a lot of times they connect with us as humans,
Yeah.
right? It's that human connection. And they fall in love with us and they want us to do the project, and then it becomes like this beautiful love affair. So, what do you think is the most important way to establish that like image to your clients and to your prospective clients?
I think first we need to figure out what that is, and that's so different for each person. It's
Right.
such an individual thing, Like for our brand, for B&G, we're really big on being minimalist and comfortable, and we target the whole husband and wife thing. But that's something that we continue to build, and it continues to evolve. So first, I think it's just identifying what are you comfortable with? How are you comfortable being seen in the world?
Yeah.
Once you create that comfort and you're able to look at your videos and your photos in a way where you feel confident about the image and the branding that you're trying to portray, I think that's when your brand really flourishes, because how can the clients that you have or prospective clients really feel comfortable with you if you're not comfortable and
Exactly.
confident
Right.
on what you're putting out there?
Right. Yeah, and it comes back to the human connection.
Right.
They want to be able to connect with you as a human being, as a person.
Exactly.
I
always say to like us that we're supposedly competitors. I don't believe in competition because of the face behind the brand.
Right.
How you get clients? Yes, it's by your portfolio, and obviously they have to like your style. But it's really that personal connection. It's like, are you relatable to them? Is there something about you that they admire, that they respect, that they strive to be like? And that's the connection, and that's such an individual process, both for the consumer and as designers, and who we take on as clients.
Right. Yeah, and just listening, being a good listener.
Absolutely.
You may not have or come from the same paths or have really much in common, but being able to listen to them and really understand,
and be relatable.
Yeah, we're like therapists too.
Exactly.
Designers are therapists.
Exactly.
So we have to like dig in there and like, figure out like, how to connect with them in a way that they'll understand.
And I think that's where
really
branding comes into play. The client you want to attract, the branding and how you portray yourself, both in photos and videos, in Q&As, all of that is going to attract the type of client you want.
Right.
So if you're trying to reach, let's say like for our brand, we're trying to reach, the higher nonchalant. So we're always portraying high-end brands, focusing on that and high quality. If you're a designer that wants to target more of the do-it-yourselfers and more of like
or accessible design.
Accessible design, then your branding strategy
has to reflect that.
Exactly, and it's going to be very different than ours.
Sure.
So, but each of them, I think, follow the same steps.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's like the same rule of thumb. You've done really good with getting yourself out there. And I want to talk to you about that today because I'm still working on it. It's, for me, it's a challenge, you know, between the, you know, personally, I'm a private person. So like, you know, my personal life. So I still struggle with like getting myself out there, you know, getting in front of the camera, doing all of that I know is so important, especially in social media, because I think to myself, who cares what I'm like eating for breakfast or like what workout I did this morning? I mean, when I do post, it's because like I'm proud of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I don't, you know, I guess I overthink it. Maybe that's that side of me too. But you do so good with like posting your everyday, your, you know, what you do in your office, the places that you go to, and I love that works. That works. So what advice can you give someone who's like scared to get out there because it's so important?
Yeah.
And, you know, just show up. I mean, besides just showing up, which is like the first step, the most important step. How do you like wrap your head around that and get over it? Get over yourself.
It helps. It's helped me a lot to hear other people's story. Like I love Beyonce's story, you know, where she says that she reviews every one of her shows, and another fellow Virgo perfectionist, that she really looks at it and tries to perfect every performance.
She critiques
it, and throughout the years, that's what I've done. You know, Brett, not so much. He doesn't care about these things, but that puts all the responsibility on my shoulders of what our brand's going to look like and continue to evolve to. So when I look at videos or photos, I know they're not going to be perfect, not to my standard. And I have to realize I'm a human being just like everybody else, and I'm going to have days that I don't look perfect. But what I realize, those are the moments when I'm not so perfect, you know, and it's not like a stage photo where people will comment and say, hey, you know what, you were so relatable. So what it's shown me through trial and error, the times where people like me the most or they feel engaged and is when
you're being yourself.
We're just being an authentic self. So I think the more you let your guard down and realize people are people, no matter, you know, where they're at in their life, no matter what age they are, everybody has their bad days and their good days. Everybody just wants to feel engaged. And what's important is, what are you saying, you know, in these videos? I think I like to post videos that somebody can feel inspired, have a recommendation of a restaurant or a hotel or something to wear. I like giving back, and I think that's a big part of it, is we have a little bit of a sense of responsibility to give back to our audience. What are we sharing that they want to look at and be inspired?
Absolutely. So basically what you're saying is stay visible.
Completely.
Just get yourself out there.
Get
over yourself. Get over those little thoughts in the back of your head and just like show up, you know, and you can start by like just maybe posting, you know, when you go out and you're dressed up and you look cute, you know, I said
just be short,
video,
short and sweet. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you become. Yeah. And just, it's all about trial and error.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You've gotten good at it though.
I'm trying. I have that perfection paralysis thing in my head that I'm like, oh my God, it's not good enough. Forget it. I'm not going to post it.
I think for people like that.
Not that I don't have a ton of content on my phone. It never gets posted.
I think for people like that, it's just good to maybe have like a setting already set up. Meaning like your logo already preset on a template in stories.
Definitely.
With the filter. So your logo's already up there. Yeah. And it's just whatever you can do to make it quick and fast, so when you're on the go and you're doing the activity,
Mhm.
it represents the way you want to be seen with your logo, a filter.
Yeah.
I think that have that ready.
Right.
So you don't have any excuses. It's already set.
Absolutely.
Just post.
Yeah. And if you're at a job site,
Mhm.
just like whatever you may think is insignificant, it's good to show because this is what we
Absolutely.
do every day.
Exactly.
It's going to the job sites, it's like looking at progress, going to showrooms also.
And get inspired by the other people that you
Other
love.
designers that you follow
Yeah.
that are doing it.
We're always-
Inspiration is like everywhere.
I'm always getting inspired by a little story or a reel that another designer did that I'm like, oh my God,
Absolutely.
I can make that my own.
Yeah.
You could do your twist, but use it as inspiration.
Storytelling is another good way,
I think people want to know who you are, why you're doing this, what inspires you, what drives you.
Mhm.
That's usually like on the bio that you have that you set up for your company is pretty much like a little short version should be used in social media as well, because that's who you are. You want to make sure you constantly reminding
Yeah.
your new clients or your new viewers who you are, why you're doing this, because you might have it like way in your feeds a long time ago, but people don't always scroll all the way down to your feed. So remind people who you are. I like posting periodically pictures of us or the team, just to kind of remind, hey, there's a face behind all this beautiful work. There's a whole team doing this. And I think also that helps clients feel comfortable with who are they giving their money to, entrusting their money to.
Absolutely.
It's nice for them to see the face, the company, where you're coming from.
Yeah, we don't just like
it doesn't appear just like that.
Magic
I
wand,
wish.
like I say.
I
wish
wish.
it was that easy. So so we got to get out of our own way.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's the takeaway.
Pretty much.
Okay, so what other strategies can you? I think before I go on the next topic, I just think being very clear on what your brand messaging is very important. Like, brand awareness. Who are you? Like for me, for example, JPID Studio. Who's JPID? Like, what do they stand for? Where, what's important to them? And like, what's the culture behind it too? The lifestyle that you want to portray. Not necessarily like in a what's your signature look kind of thing, but more like what's the vibe of the company too.
There's so much information out there. Like you can go to Pinterest the same way we do for clients, like a client board or a mood board. Do a mood board for yourself with even quotes.
I love that.
Yeah,
it's like
quotes,
a vision board.
A vision board, like even of like a picture of a designer or some, like for me, I love like fashion people. So I like a picture of a fashion person and how they look and how they portray, maybe a quote, a look of an environment that you like, whether you want to do residential, commercial, do a little mood board for yourself. And that really becomes your brand. And that gives you a brand guideline. If you work with a professional that does that, they'll have branding colors, they'll set a certain font for you to follow on all your posts and all your stories. And throughout, there should be a commonality in a thread. Consistency.
Yeah.
So make a couple mood boards, look at it, and meditate on it.
Absolutely.
And figure out, is this what makes you comfortable? And just know that might be something that you use for a couple of years, and you might want to change it up. I know that I've done it. Originally, we had one logo. Remember, it looked like a little, like it was B&G.
Like a little floor plan.
Yeah, and it was purple.
I like that floor, that logo.
Cute. And it was purple and gray.
Yeah.
And then I got over it.
You can always rebrand.
It always rebrand.
I think it's actually a good idea. Like every few years, like
to
as
do a
we
refresh.
evolve as people, what you loved, even 5 years ago, is it the same of what you love now? For me, like now I like dressing like monochromatic, like head to toe.
Yeah.
Like that's my thing now. I didn't dress like that 5 years ago.
Exactly.
Like just down to like if you really like think about like those changes that you've made in your own person, you'll see that even with design and in your business, you just evolve.
You do.
And there's nothing wrong with changing your logo, changing the look, just it's like redesigning yourself, basically.
I mean, I haven't done this, but I think it'd be a great idea is to do a vision board of what you want your brand to look like. And like stand back, look at it, really digest it and make sure that that's what you really enjoy and make little changes here and there.
Yeah.
Treat yourself as a client. Sometimes we're better to our clients than we are to ourselves.
Isn't it crazy?
It is.
Yeah.
It takes a certain personality to be in the service industry. And I think when you're in service, that you're providing, you're giving, you're a giver, and people that are usually givers tend to put themselves last. And this part of the game, when you're supposed to be front and center of your brand and you're representing yourself, you need to make yourself a priority. So in this point, that part of you needs to be put aside, and it's all about you. This is your brand, your time, and this is the time to really hone in and put all that energy into what will flow naturally from there on end.
Right. Another thing that's really important is being comfortable with telling people what you do. Like the elevator pitch. It's supposed to be it's 30 seconds.
Yeah.
You should be able to give your company mission statement and tell somebody kind of like call to action, like someone wants to ask you for your business card or your business information based on a 30-second elevator ride. So that's like the whole premise behind it. And I actually did that once with someone who was helping me with my branding in the very beginning, like when I was in startup mode. And it was so hard to craft it because you really have to think, okay, who's my target client? Who's that who's the avatar of that person? What do I offer? What sets me apart from the next designer? Why should you buy from me? You have to cover all of these points in a 30-second little snippet. That if you think about it, it's it took time to craft it. I don't even remember it at this point, but
that's why I think practicing is so important.
Right.
I look at videos and photos from when we first started our business, and oh my God, I cringe. But because it takes practice. You got to get comfortable with being on camera and representing yourself. And the other thing that most people don't think about is how you're dressed, how you're put together. It's hard for clients, in my opinion, to entrust somebody that doesn't represent their brand well. Meaning, I think you should be well groomed. I think you should be well dressed.
Absolutely.
You are, and how you dress, you're saying volumes to your audience, to your prospective clients of, how can you say you're a detail-oriented person when you're a hot mess?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't tell me you're a detail-oriented person and you haven't brushed your hair. Brush your hair.
Image is very important
in
this business. I mean, I think in any business, really, but especially interior design.
Do you know that I've had people hire us because they said they thought Brett and I look cool on an ad?
You guys are cool.
Oh, it was cool. I'll never forget. It was the leather jacket era,
that was that first photo.
The first photo where we actually
bikers.
Oh my God! I just thought it was so cool. Now I kind of
need to repost that.
I do, but it was interesting because back then I was going through my really black leather, stage with my Britney Spears blonde hair. It was back in the day.
And brunette dressing.
Exactly. You see, that's how people evolve and change. But the moral of the story is I was so afraid to put a picture of Brett and I on an ad because I wanted the purity of the work to speak for itself and, this whole very big artist mentality. And this is before social media was out.
Yeah.
And I was convinced by one of the editors of the magazines. They're like, you guys are good-looking couple, you should put a picture. And nobody was doing that at the time. The only people who you saw doing that was realtors, So when we put that ourselves out there, it was a big deal for me because I had to really get out of my shell, and I was so uncomfortable doing so. And I remember I was in my like early 30s back then, and I wasn't about that. I was about the purity of the work. Let the art speak for itself. Well, the moment we did that, that changed our
Yeah.
that made us from a company to a brand.
Right.
And I'm so glad we did that, and I'm so glad that I took other people's advice because it from there on end it changed everything for us.
Absolutely. And that was the time that social media really started after
Yeah.
that. So, you had to jump on that bandwagon.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm always like, God, that's obnoxious. I'm not just gonna have like all these pictures of me plastered all over my social media. That's
I
I'm
think
not
a good
that girl.
mixture. I think a good mixture
Yes.
of
But
your work, your inspirations, depending on how you decide to run your social media. Some people like to put other people's work, a couple pictures of yourself on the job sites, mixed in with reels,
a little bit of Penelope sprinkled
a little
in.
bit of our beautiful dogs. I think people want to know who you are.
Yeah.
And what kind of person you are. And
Absolutely.
And your Instagram and your social media should
reflect that.
Should definitely reflect that.
Yeah, that you go to the gym, that you work out, you take care of yourself, you go to nice places, you stay at nice hotels,
Absolutely.
that you appreciate beauty all around you.
Mm-hmm.
That also is a reflection of you, and that connects to your company and to your brand.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and I had a lot of clients that have said, oh yeah, like that hotel that you stayed at in Mexico or whatever, it's like they see these things.
Oh my God,
so
absolutely.
they're all paying attention. Everyone's paying attention.
Yeah.
So social media, and let's not forget networking. Networking is still a thing. Okay,
It totally
the face-to-face interaction is still a thing because referral-based businesses too. That we are. I mean, what would you say? What's the percentage of referral-based business that you get?
95%.
Exactly. So you have to make a lasting impression on your clients, your current clients, so that they can recommend you to to your next client.
Right.
So, and it's also just being out. And that's another thing. I get so stuck like on work mode all the time that I'm like, oh my God, I don't have time to go to this event, or I can't make it. I got to work late, or I'm tired, or whatever. But you have to make the effort and the time to go to the design events that these showrooms host, where you get to meet other designers. Who knows? You can always do a collaboration with one of them.
Absolutely.
Or just build friendships, within the industry. I think that's super important.
I think that's key.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that we moved to Miami because of that, because I get to go to the Miami Design District with all these events that they're always having. And it's so close to home.
Yeah.
And before it was a 2-hour schlep, going home, changing, then coming back. It was a whole thing. But now I'm so happy we get to do that. And having your community is key. I mean, establishing that connection with the salespeople, with our whole industry. It's amazing how much we've been able to do because of it. We've had photo shoots in different showrooms that we do business with.
Mm-hmm.
We've had other podcasts. There's so many great examples of the networking you can do.
I've met a lot of new vendors and contractors through these design events.
And also, how many times have I texted another designer or asking for a recommendation about
all the time.
Good wallpaper person, or what has been your experience with that contractor? Yeah, exactly. So I think it's important, and also they help warn us as well too. So it's not just the recommendations, but also, hey, warn us about either a future employee that maybe they had worked at their company. You have to create that dynamic so everybody feels comfortable picking up the phone and saying, hey,
absolutely,
I need your
help.
help.
It's a community. At the end of the day, we're all in this together, and we all have the same
And who better understands an interior designer and how hard we work than another interior designer?
Absolutely.
Once you've established your brand and what your face of your brand looks like, now what do you do with it? because there's so much out there that is at no cost. And as a designer starting out, you're always trying to figure out ways of putting yourself out there that doesn't cost anything. Obviously, Instagram's a great one, TikTok's a good one, Facebook. There's still community in Facebook that is out there, and that there's other websites like you gotta get accepted to do this, but there's AD Pro that
Mhm.
that you could apply for to be on there. We were just featured on that. There's Dwell too that you could be out there. There's a few different magazines that are online that could put you out there, and then your SEO goes up,
Okay, right.
which
Yeah.
is so important because you need to be able to. Now you've done your face. Now people, you got to get people to find you. So the more you're out there, the easier it is for people to find you.
Definitely. And another good thing that always helps, especially when you're beginning your you're building your business, Google yourself.
Yep.
When you Google yourself and your company, what comes up is so important.
Yep.
Which again brings me to like
Yeah.
doing show houses,
Yeah.
trade shows where they're posting pictures, you're in magazine, even if you're like in a little column in a magazine or a clip or a photo, that shows up on Google when somebody Googles you.
Yeah.
And this is where it starts, like building your name. I remember I struggled with my business name when I was starting JPID. I was like, oh my God, I didn't want to put Janet Patterson. I don't want to put my full name on my
Yeah.
business. But then at that time I was doing research because I was like driving myself nuts about it because I wanted to incorporate my business and
Right,
you
right.
need that, and
Yeah.
your domain and all that stuff. And I learned that what I ended up doing was Janet Patterson Interior Design because I wanted my name, people to remember my name.
Right.
And not only does it sound like a very unique name already, I mean, but I wanted to make a name for myself first. And now that was, 7 years ago. Now I feel like, okay, I think people
Yeah.
know who Janet Patterson is, and I want to now maybe go to JPID and I want to shorten it a little
Right.
bit. It's still Janet Patterson Interior Design, but it's
Right.
JPID. And that's okay too. I think it's very important to put your name there. If you're a
I
solo,
agree.
put your name. People will connect you. They'll know who you are. They'll know you from your first and your last name. It feels good and it helps kind of build a little bit of confidence
Yeah.
behind who you are as a person.
Absolutely.
So that's really important. So there we go. We have it. The importance of personal branding, establishing trust, getting yourself out there, leveraging social media. Sounds easy, right?
Really easy. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the tips that we've given you. Get uncomfortable, practice a lot, and hopefully we inspired you.
And stay tuned for our next episode coming very soon. And send us a message. Let us know how you love it or hate it.
What you want to hear about?
What you want to hear about, yes. Let us know what you'd like to hear about and what you want us to talk about next.
Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.